So the message behind this video is that you don't owe anybody a version of success which they understand. And the truth that I've realized in my journey, so overcoming some personal challenges such as social anxiety, building a coaching business, doing something that I actually want to do, and having an absolute blast in the process, is that not everybody else understands and supports what is success to you. And that's okay. Whether people see your success or not doesn't matter. And just because someone doesn't see your growth, progress, success, it doesn't mean that it isn't real. What it actually means is that they don't have the belief system. They don't have the lens to really appreciate what you've achieved and what you're doing. So I like to think that every person has this colored pair of glasses, and this colored pair of glasses on top of their eyes is known as their lens. It's shaped by their beliefs, and it changes how they see a situation. And this is why two different people can view the exact same situation and see it in a wildly different way. And if people around you, such as your parents, they have this view that personalities are fixed, growth isn't possible, people can't change, and they have an idea of what success is, everything which doesn't fit with their worldview, they're going to naturally discount because they don't see it. Beliefs are self-reaffirming. And unless you're willing to really do the deep work, question your beliefs, change them, grow as a person, heal, then your beliefs are going to stay the same, and you're going to see what you choose to believe in. And this is part of our wiring. It's a safety mechanism. So imagine that you had no beliefs about the world whatsoever. There was nothing that you believed in. It would be like navigating a city without a map or any knowledge of the city, any experience. You would just be lost. So we need these maps to navigate the world around us, people, our lives. And the maps are our beliefs. But the problem is that some people have a set of beliefs that don't serve them, that don't allow them to play to their strengths. They're not the best for others either. So they're navigating with this faulty map. This might be your parents, it might be caregivers, other people in your life. And what they're trying to do is give you the same faulty map. Here's a map of New York, here's a map, but you don't live in New York. So you try and follow the map, doesn't work for you, you end up feeling more lost, and you interpret that you're the problem, when really it's the beliefs that are the problem. So what's crazy that you might experience in your journey is that when you grow as a person, the right people will see it, but many people won't see it. Because they don't believe that people can seriously change. And especially people that you're most close to. So during my journey, so I used to have really, really high levels of anxiety around people. Was easily the most quiet person in my year in high school, college as well. And I had selective mutism, meaning I would only speak 1 to 2 words out loud a day. I actually had so much fear around people, anxiety and stress chronically, that it made my skin go yellow because of the effects of these hormones on your liver. So I had yellow skin as well, because of chronic stress and anxiety. My body was just always in this freeze response, shut down, afraid, not feeling capable. I overcame this, and now I do improv comedy in Birmingham. I do walking tours, public speaking with people around the world on a regular basis. I just chose today's tour as the thumbnail for this quick live stream. I also do these coffee social events where I'm based in Birmingham every month. Built my own coaching business. So things have changed massively for me. But my parents haven't noticed my own transformation in confidence. They've not noticed it and not acknowledged it. And it's because they don't see it. It's not because they're inherently bad people. It's just because they have beliefs that people are fixed. Personalities are just predetermined things. They don't see that things can drastically alter. People can just improve. They really don't see that. And what parents try to do is keep you safe. So they're wired to keep you alive because you have their DNA. So what parents often do is they treat you with a safety bias. They prioritize your safety over everything else because they know that you've got their DNA. And what that can mean in many cases, such as mine and other people that I know, is when you do something which goes against the grain, you start to pursue your purpose and be yourself. They view that as a threat because it's unfamiliar territory. It's not a path that they've explored before. So, for example, me going down the entrepreneurial path, escaping the 9-to-5, building my own business. That's not a path that my parents have explored. So they view that as a threat. And that's why can also get met with the same judgment. Again, this is a threat. Some parents want to mold you to be just like themselves. Again, the purpose is to look after you, but it just doesn't feel good. Never feels good when you're living a fake life on any level. Whether you're not being yourself, whether you're not doing a job that you enjoy, not expressing your authentic personality, your actual thoughts. No one likes to feel like this. But parents don't know another way. They just know that they've survived till this point, and they want to teach you what has helped them out. So they want to mold you sometimes. The way that I interpret this is that it does come from a good place. They are genuinely trying to look after you. So I appreciate the care, but still I'm my own person. So I appreciate the care, but choose to keep being myself and keep going down my path. You don't need to be controlled by other people's ideas of how you should live your life, because it's your life. You're allowed to live it on your own terms. No one else gets to decide that for you. And that can be both empowering and scary to know. And a fear that a lot of people have is, what if I do something that I actually want to do in life and I choose to be my best self, my authentic self, and other people don't give me the praise and recognition even when I've succeeded and I'm still succeeding? I think let go of that fear now. Just because other people don't see your success and don't see your growth, that doesn't mean that it's not real. It just means that they don't have the lens to actually see these things. Because of their beliefs, they don't notice, they don't appreciate it, they're focused in a different way, and that's okay. You can't blame them for their beliefs because they're instilled in them. And you could say that your parents are of a different generation than you. Maybe they didn't have the same access to content on social media that can deprogram them from their own fears and unbrainwash them, get them to see the world differently. Maybe they didn't have access to the books, the help and support that they needed to overcome their challenges. So what can happen in families is that the dysfunction that a parent has experienced can be passed on from them to you based on how they treat you. So what you're looking to do is, this will resonate with some people, is overcome generational trauma. So dysfunction that might be on your dad's side, your mum's side, or both. It's like they're trying to pass it on to you because of how they see the world. They're trying to hand you a pair of their glasses, this distorted lens, and say, this is how the world is. Put the glasses on and see this horror story. And maybe you put the glasses on, you don't like it, and your gut feeling is telling you that I don't want to see the world like that. I want something better for myself. You have every right to not take on someone else's lens. You don't have to carry what someone else tries to project onto you. That's their deal. Again, it's not necessarily their fault. They genuinely see the world the way that they see it. So it doesn't come from a bad place. It's just dysfunctional. You can shake that off. You don't have to take that on. And I always viewed that kind of horrible energy, that horrible worldview that I felt was being passed on to me. I always viewed that as it's like a drug or a virus that if you let it in and you let it infect your body, infect your mind, it's going to change your life in a really, really negative way. You have to be strong enough to resist it. You have to overcome that. You can't take it on. The healthier your mindset, the more balanced your perspective, the better your life's going to be. Because beliefs tend to be self-reaffirming. When you replace the limiting ones with expansive beliefs, you find a way to expand. And often people judge you from the outside in. You might experience that a lot. But from the outside in, it's limited information that people have access to. So I'll give you a recent example from my life. So last year's business earnings, they were lower than the year before's. So if you just heard that piece of information alone, you might think that last year was not a successful year. But actually, that couldn't be further than the reality. I changed the structure of my business last year. So rather than accepting big upfront payments from clients, instead, pay-as-you-go coaching, 1 session a month per client. So there's a temporary dip in income whilst I went through this transition. I worked to grow as a person and grow as a coach. And because of the work that I put in last year, now my earning potential is a lot higher, way higher this year than last year, and I'm a lot happier in life. So to me, this is success. But my parents, they're not going to see that. They're going to see a number as the bottom line and judge me based on an overly simplistic metric. But it's not the full story. And again, this is okay because other people looking from the outside in, they don't see what you see in your life. They're not qualified to judge you in areas where they don't have the relevant experience. You probably wouldn't accept a judgment from a stranger who you didn't know in an important area of life to you. You don't need to accept judgments from anybody, especially people who are not qualified to give them in a certain area. And it's to not, one of the challenges is to not feel angry at other people for judging you, because they're judging you based on limited information. So it's an incorrect judgment. It comes from their perspective and the way that they see the world. And ultimately, you have a choice to make. If you're going to take on their perspective, you're going to end up with a life that looks something like their life. Now, if that's working for them, they're super happy, they're beaming, they're confident, having a great time, then great. Maybe you should follow that person's advice. But if that's not a life for you, don't follow their advice, because otherwise you'll end up more similar to that person. Rather than follow the advice of someone who is not happy in life, why not take advice from someone who is actively growing, improving their life, and having things just get better and better and better? That's the kind of person that you want to listen to. That's the kind of perspective that you want to tune into and adopt. Replacing limiting beliefs with healthy, expansive ones. And we're not talking about ridiculous, over the beliefs, never making a mistake and dropping phones, for example. Hey Taran, good to have you on the stream. So when I talk about replacing limiting beliefs with positive beliefs that are good for growth, I'm not talking about unrealistic, ridiculous beliefs, but I'm talking about what I would say is optimistic and realistic at the same time. And what most people know is realistic is that if they work hard on their goals, day in, day out, month in, month out, year in, year out, that life's going to get a lot better. And things are going really good, thanks, Taran. So I've been doing these walk-in tours in Birmingham as a new thing. So I want to do loads of public speaking, practice it on a regular basis. And then in the future, I'm going to do public speaking coaching as an add-on in my business. So I'm doing like 3 walk-in tours a week with people from all around the world, leading them around Birmingham, teaching them some history. And it's been really, really interesting. And that's a great point. So if something is sustainable with putting the work in, then it is realistic. It's not far-fetched. And I completely agree. And what I'm doing in my life, it is sustainable. So I did build a business and start from scratch. I did achieve this. Things are getting better over time. So what I've achieved is realistic. And if I can do it, then other people can do it as well. And that's real inspiration. We're not just saying positive things that sound great, but not grounded in reality. We're talking about things that I've done, other people have done, things that are very achievable. And often people around us can talk us out of things that are actually really helpful for us because of their own fears and their own limiting beliefs. Can be parents, brothers, people that we go to school with, people that we work with, friends. Sometimes they don't believe in, you may think they don't believe in your ability to succeed, but often what's happening is they're talking about their fears. They're thinking, man, if I did that thing, it would be so scary. Don't do that thing. So you might hear that quite a bit, but ultimately facing fears and doing things that are right for you, they're going to help you grow in confidence. And the dangerous thing is that if you take on limiting beliefs, if you believe that you're going to fail, you're not going to succeed, it's going to be so hard to motivate yourself on a long-term basis to eventually get the results you want and build the life that you want to lead. So it's variable how many miles I run a day. So today I did a 5K run with a guy that I'm coaching before doing this public talk, this walking tour. I've done half marathons before. Some days I just do some strength training. So I love health and fitness, and my goal is to be all around fit and healthy. So I'm not looking to just excel in one area, compete in one particular sport, but I like all around general fitness. And something that I'm going to do with a mate, there's a challenge called Hyrox. And if you've not heard of Hyrox, it's an exercise challenge, and it's a bit of a craze. It's took off all around the world, and it's basically a one-day event. You can do it as a solo, by yourself, or with a friend, doing it with a friend. And there's a bunch of different exercises. For example, there's a farmer's carry, where you carry these weights several hundred meters. There's this thing where you push a really heavy box. You do some squats and throw a medicine ball against the wall. And there's a whole bunch of exercises. And the idea is just to be all around fit and healthy in all areas, all around fitness. And that's really what appeals to me. So I never fancied the idea of going down the bodybuilder type route and having a very good show off physique. But I'd rather be proper fit and healthy, in good shape, but more athletic, functional health and fitness. But how about you, Tyrone? How are things going with you? So what I was saying is that if you take on beliefs that you can't achieve something, it makes it so much harder to succeed. And I'll tell you one reason why. So when we're shamed by people, our bodies respond to this as a massive threat. Because if you're shamed, you might get kicked out of a tribe, you might be isolated, you might not get looked after. So when we get shamed, our bodies enter a fight, flight, or freeze response due to fear. And it's really, really hard to stay long-term motivated when you've been shamed and when you carry shame with you. So it's really, really healthy to not take on any mindsets associated with failure, not succeeding, etc., and have healthier beliefs, because ultimately you without shame, you without these beliefs that would just hold you back, you're going to go so much further. And you could say that there's two kinds of motivation. There's shame-based motivation, and then there's encouragement-based motivation. So there's been studies on this in behavioral psychology. And shame-based motivation has some short-term value. So in the moment, it can get someone to carry out some actions that they otherwise might not do. But in the long term, shame-based motivation, like beating yourself up, being self-critical, being defeatist, it tends to lead to paralysis and a lack of motivation over time. So it isn't sustainable. Whereas encouragement-based motivation has the exact opposite effects. So it's not just being fakely nice to yourself, it actually works. And all the behavioral psychology studies clearly show this. And when you just encourage someone all the time, you accept their best efforts, you point out their strengths, water their seeds of talent, that person eventually becomes a machine and force of nature. And I've experienced both polar opposites in my life and experienced how it affects me personally. So I've experienced not having those seeds watered. My parents are great people, but didn't really believe in me, didn't see my potential. I've had a coach that did. I'm just reading this, Taron, there. So yeah, you're 100% right there. So it does go back to the caveman times where we spent most of our evolution. So shaming is a threat. Our brain thinks, oh my God, me behaving in this way is dangerous because it might lead to deathly consequences. so I best not do this. So when you feel ashamed of things, it actually closes you up and it reduces your potential. You're shutting your light, you're turning your light down, you're dimming it, you're closing yourself off. You're choosing to not be at your best, to not shine, to not stand out, because you're afraid that standing out might be dangerous for you. So shame makes someone close up and shrivel, kind of like a plant without being watered. And absolutely so. The thing with parents that I was kind of touching on before is that their primary concern is keeping you alive. And they see the world the way that they see the world. So they are genuinely, in most cases, doing the absolute best they can based on what they know. But they only know what they know. They don't know what they don't know. So there's things that they're not going to see. So they can't act on what they don't see. And what this means is that sometimes parents don't water your talents. They have an idea of how you should be and try to mold you. And you know what's a really, really common thread in my events, my coaching, and really the people that I'm meeting is it's always that they have so much potential to be successful in life, so much talent naturally, but in their upbringing, there's an idea of how they should be. And people have tried to mold them into this image. This is how you should behave. This is how you should be. This is the life for you. This is the job. These are the people you should hang out with. This is how you should talk. This is how you should walk. And it's really, really conflicting and challenging because if you lean really, really far one way, you can please your parents and get that encouragement, but at what personal cost? Do you have to trade your soul in the process? If you go the other way, you're fully being your authentic self. You might not get that support you want from your parents. So it's not an easy one. But what I've learned is that when you start to be yourself and you re-own your skills, your talents, and just keep on going, you do get more confident. You do start to see that the whole time you had the ability to be successful. And you really understand the importance of true confidence. And this is one of the reasons why I do confidence coaching. And confidence coaching is about watering someone's potential. And that's a really interesting point you're raising there, Taran. So what you're saying is that if someone's older than you, they may say, well, I've got the experience in life, so follow what I'm saying. And this is what I would say. Look at how their life has worked out for them. The kind of person they are, how happy they are. And if you want to live a life just like that person, they're so happy, they're shining, they're the kind of person that you want to become, their life is something you would love to live, then in that case, then following that advice could be helpful. But if you don't want to live a life like them, then following their advice would be counterproductive. And just because they've got more life experience doesn't mean that they're qualified to give you life advice, because they don't have more experience being you. They don't have more experience than you do walking in your shoes, living life through your own lens. They don't have that. They've got their experience in life, which isn't the same as your experience. So you could say that they've got less life experience than you have at being yourself. And it depends on the situation. So, I mean, let's say you want to go into a certain career. Okay, let me read this. And it's interesting that, so what I would say is that if somebody is telling you to shut up because you're too young, then usually it's a bit of a cop-out when people say that. Just because someone's older doesn't mean that they're right, and this is silly. And people only have more experience living life in their way and in certain areas, not in all areas. And it depends on what the context is. But usually when people try to shut someone down for having an opposing view, it's because they can't handle the view. It's their own lack of ability to see someone else's different perspective. It challenges them, it triggers them, and their gut reaction is just to shut that down, dismiss it, because taking that on would be a threat to their identity, to how they see the world. So usually that kind of behavior, it reflects more on them than it does on you. And it's not that the older someone is, the more value that they have, the more that they always bring to a situation. They might have more experience in certain areas of life. That's about it. But it depends on the topic you're talking about. And what I would say is that if they're really, really wise, they've grown as a person their whole life, they're smiling, they're beaming, they're confident, they've overcome challenges. If they lived a life that really resonates with you, then it makes sense. If it doesn't feel like your path, then you don't need to listen to them any more than you'd listen to the next person. So it's about how it feels. Usually, if it's great advice and it feels good, comes from a good place, you'll feel that in your gut. There'll be a good feeling about this person. But ultimately, it's always good to take it with a pinch of salt, because they haven't lived your life, so they're just telling you what they think is best based on what they know. But that sounds like a bit of a problem that you're experiencing, and that other people do as well, where they're around people who are older than them and being shut down, and age is being used as an excuse. Of course, you're spot on. So not all elderly people have maturity and wisdom. Yeah, of course that's the case. I mean, there's so many elderly people that I would never want to be like, and I would never take advice from. Even the previous landlord. So this guy PT was a millionaire, super rich. He'd made loads of money selling wine in France, bought some houses, started renting them. He was so miserable. I'd never want to be like that guy. And you're absolutely right. So just because someone's older than you doesn't mean that they know better. Not at all the case. I mean, if that was actually true, think about it. At my events, the oldest people in the room will be doing all the talking. I'd just be sat there listening the whole time. All coaches and mentors would be really old people rather than young people. It's not the case at all. If you look at the best coaches and best mentors, they're not always the oldest people. Now, at the same time, if they were the best mentors in their 20s, 30s, and 40s, then they're going to be great mentors as they age, because they're going to get really good at doing what they do. But you want to listen to people who have stories that inspire you, rather than people that are just of a certain age. Because imagine if you'd live a really boring life, just in the system, do something that you wasn't passionate about, never worked on yourself, wait until you was 50. You're not now qualified to give people life advice. And that's a great point as well. So if you've lived a really sheltered life, only one way of life. You just wake up, go to work, go home, watch TV, sleep, socialize with a small number of people, never travel beyond your area. Regardless of how long you've lived, you're going to have such limited world experience. But if someone's done loads of traveling, met lots of different people, had ups and downs, this career, that career, they've had a variety of life experiences. I mean, that person's got a lot more real world experience than an elderly person that's just lived on one path in life. So all their experience that is going down one path as themselves, that's literally what their life experience is. But if they're not super successful and super confident and the kind of person that you want to be, you don't need to take advice from that person. But if the person on the other hand is someone who you really, really relate to, you get on super well with them, you feel similar, and they've gone down a path that inspires you, makes you feel really great and really confident, and when they give you advice, it feels helpful, feels quality, it feels good for the soul, maybe it is good advice. So I'm just going to make sure I read this. Can you type in one more message just because it flashed off the screen? I get about 3 seconds to read the messages, and then I can read the second half of it. Because I know you're asking me about a specific kind of situation. To do with basically arguing or debating with people who are older than you. And I think in general, when it comes to the topic of arguing and debating, I always think, what do I have to gain from this situation? If it's just a pointless debate, pointless argument, it's not going to affect the big picture of my life, then I might choose not to get involved. If it's got that kind of energy to it, just be happy and do what's good for me. But obviously on the flip side, if it's something that I'm really passionate about and it feels right to get involved. And that's an interesting point. So if an elderly person is telling you all the things not to do in life, in a way that is good coaching because they're teaching you from their mistakes. But also as well, from any person you're taking advice from, always take it with a pinch of salt, because just because something hasn't worked for somebody else doesn't mean that it couldn't work for you. The same information in different hands can get different results. So what's more important than other people's advice is your own life experience, because that gives you much better quality information to work with. If you know that you can do something because you've done it yourself, there's zero doubt. And before doing the business stuff, I did a PhD. And one thing that my supervisor would always say to me is that one giant variable in all experiments is the person doing the experiments. So the same experiment, the same protocol, the same recipe in two different hands can get completely different results. So if one person is telling you that, I'm doing this experiment and it's just not working, that doesn't mean that it might not work when you do it. But in general, there is such a thing as general bad advice and general good advice. Interesting. So if a client was challenging me on my coaching, what would I do? So of course I would listen to the client because they've got every right to challenge what I'm suggesting to them. So I'd support their right to express their opinion, and I'd figure out if there was a miscommunication or misunderstanding. And ultimately, my coaching is based on behavioral psychology, CBT, something called ACT, and it's based on stuff that does work. But ultimately, I can't claim it's going to work for every single person, just the vast majority. Most people, and with more experience, it gets better, of course, as well. So my coaching each year is better than the previous year. But ultimately, if someone was disagreeing with everything that I said as a coach, it would make it harder to coach that person. Because I'm trying to get them to replace limiting beliefs that are holding them back with empowering beliefs that are going to help them out. And if they're resisting every belief that I'm suggesting to them, if they're resisting every bit of action that I'm suggesting, wouldn't help. So interestingly, yes and no. Yes and no, I would say to that. So the guy you're talking about, so what he's saying is true in his case, and I'll tell you why. It's different than just older people in general. So what this guy is saying is that, so he's a coach in a certain field, and he's got a lot of experience in that particular field. That's what qualifies him to coach in his area, because he's a genuine expert master that spent decades doing what he does. So he knows the score really, really, really well in that field, because he's got more time. He spent more time in that area. So when clients are disagreeing with him, it's basically someone with a lot less life experience in that area trying to tell him what the best advice is, but he's been there, done it, and got the t-shirt in his field. So generally speaking, if you're working with this guy, you like what he does, and you're looking to learn from his wisdom and experience, you have to be willing to give what he suggests a go. You have to be willing to accept the possibility that maybe he's telling you the harsh truth. Maybe he's telling you something that you might not want to hear, but actually it's going to help you out. You have to be willing to face that fear. And it doesn't mean that every little thing that a coach says is going to be right for you. You might agree with most of it and disagree with some stuff. I mean, what I found in my coaching is that the more clients believe what I'm telling them and apply it, the better the results they get. The more resistant they are, the slower it is for them. And it can be more like 2 steps forward, 1 step back. And it's a tricky balance to get right. And I've also learned that people's context makes a big difference as well. And if people are around people that are doubting the coaching, it makes the coaching harder. So I've coached some clients who have been constantly questioning everything. They've been talking to friends about every idea I've thrown their way. And because they're questioning everything and they're so skeptical, they're actually not taking on the value that's going to help them out the most. On the flip side, I've had clients that have just been living by themselves, doing the coaching, essentially giving everything I've said to them a go, believing everything, and they've actually got the best results. And one example of that would be, say, a client, Liam, that you know from events. And I can show you a before and after photo of Liam. And if you look at Liam after his first 6 sessions with me, you look at him a year on, he looks visibly different, a lot calmer, a lot more confident. So the transformation is there, but it has taken time, a lot of hard work. And ultimately, because he's not been surrounded by people that have been taking away, watering down the ideas of the coaching, he's basically taken it on board and really, really applied it. So I would say that in the case of the guy, the coach that you're talking about, that in his area, he is an expert. He's a black belt in his area, and he's teaching people who are white belts. But only because he's teaching them a martial art. And it's a particular martial art. So he is an expert in that martial art. So what I would say is that I understand the guy's perspective. So he wants respect from clients, and he wants clients to actually listen to his advice and follow it, because that's what's going to work the best. Now, me personally, I agree with that. And I view like one coaching style as a martial art. And if you're a master at that, you're a black belt, and you're teaching somebody that might be a white belt, might be a green belt, a blue belt. So it's good to follow the sensei's instructions in that martial art. But then on the flip side, there is a balance. And calling someone sir, I think that's a step too far, personally. Wouldn't feel good for me. And I view clients on the exact same level as me, because I treat all people equally. I view all people as equal value. So having someone call me sir wouldn't fit with what I'm trying to do. But what I'm doing is confidence coaching. So what I'm doing is different than what this other coach is doing. So I want clients to feel equal to me because that's where they're most open and free to talk. That's going to help them feel confident in themselves because they can see that I'm confident in myself and I'm not cut from a different cloth. What I can do, you can do too. But in the case of this other coach, he's teaching other stuff. He's teaching branding and strategy. So it makes sense that he wants clients who respect his content and his work, because if they don't, they're not going to apply it. They're not going to get good results. Then they're going to badmouth his coaching and it's going to make him look bad. So it's actually bad for his branding to accept the wrong clients that aren't going to get the most value. So probably that's why he says to clients to call him sir, because he knows that those clients are the most respectful. They're going to put the most work in, get the best results. So it's good for his own coaching. But in my case, I'm about getting maximum results for clients. So I treat everyone equally because that prioritizes results and value. And that's the most important thing for me to prioritize in the work that I'm doing. And this is exactly why, in addition to my meetup events, I'm going to put on virtual ones. So here's the thing. So this guy is a branding strategist, but he talks about other areas of life. But ultimately, because he's a branding strategist, he knows the ideal clients that he wants to work with. And ultimately, if he works with clients that really value his content, that really resonate with it, that are willing to follow his advice and his instructions, then he's working with the right clients who are going to get the best results in all areas of his offerings. And therefore, it's best for him as a coach, as someone on YouTube. So I can totally understand where he's coming from as a coach. I get it. I agree with quite a bit of it, but then where I differ and have a different perspective is that I don't want clients to call me sir, because that creates an inequality, a bit of friction, and I want clients just to call me Phil. We're on an equal level the whole time. Of course, I'm there as a coach, so my focus is committing to helping the person out who's right in front of me. That's my job. I put that first, and just focus on maximizing impact as much as I can in the time that I'm given. But yeah, I get that this guy has his own way of doing things that he's learned from his experience, and I'm sure that it works well for that guy. So ultimately, you have to figure out what works for you, and what works for this person you're talking about. Sounds kind of cool, and I get why it works for that guy, but your life experience is more important, because that's going to allow you to figure out what actually works the best for you as a person, rather than what works for somebody else. Because if you're just listening to all this advice, you're just learning what has worked for other people. But you don't know for a fact that that information in your hands is going to lead to the same results. Well, what you said there, actually, that gave me more confidence in this guy. The fact that he admits to not always having all the answers, because no one does. No one's got all the answers. He admits to being wrong in the past, because we're only human. We're going to make mistakes. We're going to get things wrong. The idea is that you evolve over time. So you teach to the best of your ability as a coach. And as you evolve and things get better and you upgrade your mindsets, you then teach to your next level. So it always evolves and changes. And if you look at other examples of sort of high-ranking coaches, let's say, coaches with a big following, big influence, not always the best, but high-ranking coaches in those terms, say like Julian. So he's completely changed what he does for a living, his coaching, what he offers to people. It's evolved over time based on his life experience. My coaching's evolved as well, and it's always evolving. So when I started out, it was in dating mainly. Then it moved and migrated to social anxiety. And really now it's all areas of life that I've grown in as a person. So it's not just restricted. It's areas of life where I wasn't confident and I'm now confident. So I can guide people through their own journeys in areas where I've been through that journey. Whether it's as an entrepreneur, whether it's personal level. And absolutely there's, making general statements is just a general statement. And the truth is this, right? So if you get to the nitty gritty, it's highly nuanced. And the reason why coming to an event or coaching is a lot better than watching videos online or reading a book is that advice is going to be tailored to your situation specifically. It's nuanced. It's not just general. And the problem with every truth and bit of general advice is that it's always a half truth and it's only general advice. It doesn't apply in all situations. It's one tool. It's a hammer. It's not everything. And ultimately, general statements are things that a lot of people know. It's not about what you know, it's about what you do with what you know. So it's nice if someone knows all these great quotes of how to live a good life, but if they're not actually doing it, then clearly something isn't working. Most people know that if they go to the gym and get really fit and healthy, it's going to improve their life. They know that if they push their comfort zone, do public speaking, get loads of practice in social situations, that's going to improve their life too. If they're willing to take feedback, refine, improve, that's going to improve their life as well. If they work on building their dream career, something that they really enjoy, that they're really good at, that's going to also improve their life. So most of us already know deep down what's going to improve our lives, but having the courage to actually act on that consistently and make it happen, that's different. So we don't have a lack of information, it's just doing it. Yeah, nothing in life is 100%. Absolutely agree. You could look at any statement I make and pick it apart because there's so many angles to things. And in a way, that's a good thing. Because everyone is unique. They've got their own life history, their unique DNA, unique beliefs, unique experiences. And that's why it's fun to talk to people. And that's why events are great, because everyone's got a different perspective and different advice, because we think differently. And it's so nuanced, it's crazy. If it wasn't nuanced, we'd all have all the answers already. Yeah, exactly. So it's all super nuanced, and because it's nuanced, that's why people specialize. So you mentioned a guy before who you said was a branding strategist. He's specialized in an area. That's what people do in today's day and age. They pick an area, niche down, and become an expert in a highly specific area. The reason you can do this is because when you get down to it, there's so many nuances in any area of life. And the problem with general statements is that they don't get to the nuanced truth. It's just broad, sweeping, a generalization. But ultimately, you could say that it's a starting point. It gives people some idea, but it isn't crystal clear. It's not detailed. And if general statements was all you needed in life, then you just learn like a cheat code of 10, 20 things, and that would be all you need to know. But clearly this isn't the case. And the reason that life experience is so important is that this is where you understand the nuances. So actually what's happened with my live streams is that I've still done live streams, but probably at different times of the day, more earlier in the day, less in the evening. But I'm going to do them on a more regular basis. So one of my tasks for later on this month is to set up multi-streaming. So I have a like a nice camera, a Canon camera, and to improve on my phone. This is on my phone in the garden at the moment, just in the back garden. So I'm going to basically connect my camera to my laptop, make sure the internet's good enough, and stream to Instagram, YouTube, Facebook at the same time, and try and do it on a regular basis. So when I make this change, it's going to be a lot better. I'm going to make sure that the sound's good as well. Just a really, really good high quality setup. So I've still done live streams and content, but my main thing is moving forwards with better quality stuff. Now I appreciate that, and it's always good to have you on the live streams. I would also say, as well as being an OG in the meetup group, you're an OG on the live streams as well. Yeah, and it's nice to have people on the live streams, and hopefully when I get multi-streaming working, there'll be a really engaging chat going on with just different people chipping in with different ideas. And the idea is to make my live streams more like my in-person events. And this is why I'm going to start to do virtual events as well, if not next month, the month after. Because once I can stream with my camera, so it's good that you now know that I'm still here doing the live streams. Definitely not going to stop. So when I've got the live streaming working from my nice camera, and it's all a good setup, I can then do virtual events as well. So I mean, there are some people that have been there for quite a long time, but I would say you can still put yourself in that category. Certainly you are a regular on the live streams, which is great. But yeah, so I will be doing them on an almost daily basis in the future. And the great thing is, once I've got this multi-streaming set up, it's going to be high quality YouTube longs, Instagram longs. Won't need to worry about editing videos and all that sort of stuff. For me, I'm very much an output focused person. And I love the idea of just being able to easily come on a stream, share some stuff, view it in the same way as a coaching session, an event, not have it a really complicated setup. And that is an interesting question. I guess regular sort of people. So Greg is pretty regular, and he's going to come back to the events pretty soon. Neil's been around for a while, but I guess he had a bit of a break as well and came back. So there is some people that have been around for quite some time, but at the events, you are certainly one of the main regulars. But I'm definitely excited about doing virtual events through my meetup group and making them accessible to people from YouTube, Instagram, other places as well. It's all about building communities, bringing people together. And since the whole goal is to get people over social anxiety, get people confident, expressing themselves, listening, communicating, working on all these skills, the best way to do this is real world experience. And this is exactly why events are going to be so much more helpful than just watching videos. Having a chance to actually practice public speaking, take part in different social exercises in a safe space to open up, connect, etc., you're going to get so much more value from this than just passively consuming content. So I think it's going to be an exciting upgrade in my business. And I really think that this year and next year, things are going to take off pretty massively. I have a great foundation in place to really build on. And it's quite an exciting business journey to be on. So that's really, really good, Taron. So you've been going to more events and even willing to cycle long distances to get there as well, which is pretty awesome. And the fact that you're confident enough to put yourself out there and just go to all these different events, to me, that shows how much that you've come on as a person. And that's all right. Even if it's there and back, it still counts. And would you say that the version of you 3 years ago would have been confident enough to go to all these different meetup events, mine, other ones, and cycle there and back as well? Sometimes we forget how much progress we've actually made. But would you say that you would have been confident enough to go to this many events 3 years ago? Or would you have found it quite nerve-wracking and you wouldn't have been sure? And something that's crazy with progress is that often other people can see our progress really, really, really well. And there are some people that have actually struggled to see their own progress, but other people around them can see. And I like that. That's a really grounded answer, Taron. So it's honest as well, proper honest. I like that. So what you're basically saying is that you definitely wouldn't have been as confident as you are now. You wouldn't have been extremely nervous, but things have got better. You have got more confident in the real world, and probably the version of you from 3 years ago wouldn't have felt confident enough to go to this many events. That is real world growth. You know, there's no doubt about that. It's tangible. It's like someone that goes to the gym saying that, you know, last year I was benching 40 kilograms, worked hard, and now I'm benching 60 kilograms. Great. Tangible growth in the real world. That's a good achievement. And since you're already more confident, then my advice would be to start thinking about what the next goal is, wherever that goal is. Great. So basically, you've gained more confidence traveling, especially being around different people as well, different personality types, and spending long times with these people. That's huge growth. And what that shows is that the life experience itself is what got you the growth. It wasn't watching content about other people traveling. It wasn't hearing about this person's travels and that person's travels, or listening to this guy's advice and why you should travel. It was actually doing it that got you the results. The action taken, the facing the fear, the experience, the growth. That's what got you the results that you're talking about. And this is why having someone motivate you to actually do something helps out. And that's really, really interesting. So you've got a friend with, you said the word crippling levels of social anxiety, and I've certainly been there. And I currently have a client who I would say has that, and he's making progress with it. So going to meetups are a great first step. And as you know, my main meetup is for social anxiety. And would your friend be confident enough to come down to one of my meetups? So obviously I've got the in-person ones that you go to. And if in-person is too big a step for this guy, then I will do virtual ones as well in the summer. Yeah, so he has really, really bad social anxiety, and I do relate to that. Certainly high school and college, I would barely speak. 1 or 2 words a day was all he would get out of me. So I had really, really high levels of social anxiety. And I have worked with people who've had high levels where they struggle to get out of the house. Um, Interesting. So he wanted to go to my event at some point in the past. That is really interesting. And maybe if this guy, the fact that you go to my events, you might be able to inspire this guy to come along as well. Maybe you bring him along as a guest. So on the meetup thing, they say that you can bring a guest for free. So he could be a plus one that comes along, and because you're there, he's going to know at least one person in the room. And I'm pretty sure that he'll get comfortable with me as well. And there's a lot of nice people in the group, like Matt, Liam, others. And it could be a great first step. And if his levels of social anxiety are super high, that's fine. I mean, it is a group for people with social anxiety. I see. So what I would say is that it sounds like this guy would benefit from two different things, really. So obviously the purpose of my events are to help people out with social anxiety. And if the current thing he's focused on is finding a partner, going on dates, etc., then him getting more confident as a person, overcoming social anxiety, is indirectly going to help him out a lot. It's going to be really, really hard for him to meet somebody with super high levels of social anxiety. But if he can reduce that, it's going to increase his chances. So I think my events are a good long-term solution. And it sounds like he has some beliefs and mindset shifts that could really help him out. And I think for this guy, it sounds like a long and short-term approach could be really helpful. So him overcoming social anxiety and getting confident with people in general, knowing that it's actually really valuable to make friends with guys, friends with girls, and not just romantic connections. This would help him out a lot as well. But also at the same time, it is possible for him to get more confident in that specific area of dating that he's looking for. But what I can say from my experience in life is that if he just focuses on dating confidence, doesn't address the other stuff, he's going to have a much harder time. It's going to hold him back a lot. But if he can just smash his confidence out there with all people in life and focus on dating at the same time and not neglect the other stuff, that's going to be the best of both worlds. And I think that's the problem. It's his belief and mindset. If he's not interested in making friends, it's almost like he's going to push people away. The sort of energy that he's going to give off is going to repel people, and ultimately he's going to struggle to truly connect with somebody. And I get that there's connecting on different levels, like a friendship level, then a more romantic level as well. But if he's not open to friendship connection, it's going to be a lot harder for him to find the romantic connection as well. But ideally, if he can do both, that's the best. And ultimately, the fact that he's not interested in making friends in general, it probably comes down to his own fears. And probably it's an ego thing. Maybe he wants to chase going on lots of dates, and that's the only thing that he values. But ultimately, he said he has crippling levels of social anxiety, and I'm pretty sure that if he shifted his focus to overcoming social anxiety, he'd be a lot happier. He'd make a lot more progress in life, and ultimately he could meet women along his natural journey that he really connects with. But it sounds like that's keeping him stuck. Probably it's fear. But you said that he's not interested in making friends with guys, but he's friends with you. I'm sure that he values having you as a mate. No, you're not putting anybody on blast. And it's not like he can't achieve his thing. Like he wants to meet some women, experience some romance. I get that, and that's nice. But ultimately, if you make that the sole focus of your life, that's the only thing you're interested in, becomes an obsession. It gets blown out of proportion. It actually pushes the thing away that you're interested in. Going to come across desperate and needy, and it's just not going to work. It just isn't a healthy mindset. So much healthier to view, as cheesy as this might sound, like your life is delicious bowl of ice cream. It's epic, great texture, great flavor, amazing, and relationships are just the sprinkles on top of the ice cream. Or if your life was a cake, it's the icing on the cake. A nice bonus. But if you depend on romantic relationships to feed your identity and sense of self-worth, you're giving them so much value and so much power over you. You're going to be weak in those situations. You're going to act desperate, and you're going to attract the wrong people into your life or just push everybody away. When you don't need somebody, you have no need whatsoever, but you appreciate people and you're interested in socializing and you're open to the right relationships, but there's zero desperation or need on your part, you're going to achieve a lot more relationships, enjoy them more, and have way less stress. So it sounds like your friend with social anxiety has got himself in a bit of a thought trap, bit of a life trap, and he's doing more than putting women on a pedestal. He's making that his whole life revolve around it. It's interesting, and I can resonate from experience when I was in a different place in life than I am now. And ultimately, the first thing to say is that it's not wrong. I get it. So your friend with social anxiety feels that he's lacking and missing out on romantic connection. And probably this comes down to a core belief. Maybe he thinks that he's not attractive and he's not getting that healthy level of validation to help him believe he's attractive, desirable, and wanted, more than platonic, but on a romantic level. Is it possible for him to achieve more of those reminders in his life, reminders that he is enough and he is attractive and people do like him? Of course it's possible. He can achieve that. That is a goal that he can go out there, focus on, take action on, and make progress with. But if he just does that in a vacuum, doesn't focus on anything else, neglects every other area of life, even the area that he's interested in is going to suffer. Because you're talking about building relationships with people. So if you're neglecting other areas of your life, of course it's going to impact your romantic relationships. If you have crippling levels of social anxiety, you struggle to connect with people in general, that's going to affect your romantic relationships without a shadow of a doubt. So I think he can focus on his goal. He feels he's lacking romance in his life. He can at least achieve more healthy validation that it's possible for him. He can work on his beliefs, start to socialize with women more, friendship, but he has to be open to friendships as well and not be just desperate to get a certain outcome, not trying to force things. So interesting what you said. So it sounds like there's not a normally in life there's like a reciprocity. You know, what you put out, what you get back, some sort of fairness in that, some sort of mirror effect going on with energy. So he's not willing to approach women, but he wants them to approach him. He's stuck. And I don't necessarily fully agree of being like out of someone's league. I think it's a half truth. And what I think is that everyone at the core is equal. But so you're already good enough fundamentally, but you can change how you show up in the world. You can change how you turn up in your real life. If you're super fit and healthy, super confident, you're just owning who you are as a person, of course, that version of you is capable of finding a good relationship. But it sounds like your friend is so focused on his own looks, he's so self-conscious, and he's wanting someone else to make the first move, but he's not making the first move himself because he's afraid of doing that. And rather than have that level of pressure, why not just focus on connecting with people, men and women, all kinds of people, enjoying conversations, getting more confident in these situations? That can be the first step. He doesn't have to think about achieving a relationship and putting all that pressure on himself, but at least he can be more connected and more relaxed in these situations. And he's talking about looks, but the truth is that as a guy, our looks, they don't matter as much as we tend to think they actually do. Go back to hunter-gatherer times, and you might know this, Taron, but this comes from RSD. So no woman's ever said, this guy's good looking, it could help out with the hunting. So women want the champion, the best hunter, the winner, and your looks don't matter that much. They don't allow you to go out there and successfully bring food back from a hunt. What does help with that? Someone who's super confident, brave, consistently hardworking, does the right thing, doesn't give up, is ambitious, keeps trying, keeps going, a champion. So what he's seeing is not necessarily reality. So maybe the girls he's seen talking to guys, maybe they already know each other. It's very, very, very rare for attractive girls to go over to a random guy they don't know, strike up a chat, and try and chat the guy up. It's rare as hell. Waiting for that to happen, I mean, how many decades do you have? You know, and he can first work on making eye contacts. Is he making eye contacts? Does he look warm, friendly, and open to a conversation? So I think he's seeing things, and in his mind he's thinking other guys are, left, right, and center, achieving this, achieving that, but he's not seeing the reality. He's seen it through a very, very distorted lens and worldview, which is keeping him stuck. Romance is not something that anybody is separate from. It's accessible to everybody, but some people just don't believe that it's accessible to them. I know that it's a very vulnerable area of life for lots of people. Remember in a session when I was coaching you saying about the most vulnerable areas for guys: romance, health, family, money. And the truth is that as a guy, certainly, firstly, he doesn't have to approach women necessarily to meet women. He can do social things like hobbies. You can take up salsa dancing, go to exercise classes, baking classes, courses, meetup events. You can get to know people over time. And a lot of the time, it is people's attitude that actually stops them, and they're their own worst enemy. But yeah, so there's let's say there's the warm ways to meet people, which is forming relationships over time in socially normal contexts. So, for example, as a random example, there's a guy that I'm mates with, and I started to do. You heard an ice cream running in the background. That is it's funny. I'll give you that. It's a bit too cold for me on this day to get the ice cream, but it's nice that it's an offer. Maybe if the sun came out, I'd consider it. But there's a guy that I'm mates with, and this is just from going to a salsa class once a week, and we just have a good laugh, just connect on different stuff, like the same sort of comedy. I got to know this person over time. So you can get to know people in normal social environments over time. That's one way to meet people. And it sounds like your friend is not doing that. So he's missing out on all those potential connections with people that would come from that. Second way you can meet women, which is different, and he's going to struggle without that confidence, but it's not impossible, is spontaneous conversations. Seeing somebody that he really likes, he feels inspired to speak to that person, pushing the comfort zone in an ethical and respectful way, striking up natural chat, for example, in a coffee shop, having stuff in common with that person, getting to know them, and maybe it's a great chat, great natural chemistry, and it leads to a coffee date. And from there, they date, continue to get to know each other, and it becomes a relationship. So there's two main avenues open to your friend. The warm way, get people naturally over time in normal social contexts like hobbies, classes, university, etc. Then there's the spontaneous conversation route, and both can work. But what the most important thing is, him being confident in himself and living a good life, being in a good place. If he's in a really bad mood, loads of anxiety, really afraid, not very happy as a person, not happy in himself, feels like he's struggling a lot, it's going to be a lot harder for him to really connect with people. And if he's got this distorted worldview as well, and the problem with that approach, like I get it, I understand it, and I think it depends on where you're at in life and what you're doing, the path that you're on. But ultimately, it kind of comes from the wrong attitude, an attitude of trying to force something. But relationships are things that you can't force because it involves two people. Even the word getting, like I want to get a relationship, it's all about wanting to get something. But really, it's a two-way street. And it's about connecting with people. And what you've said is a really, really good point. So in terms of relationships, so of course, university, education, school, that's a really common way that people meet people because they have a chance to get to know them over time. So connections are being built and they have that space to develop. And also social networking is essentially the same thing. It's connections happening. So exactly, similar interests, friend groups. So there's something in common, which makes the other person, both people open. They're both there. They're on a similar page. They're chatting. And with some people, you're going to have that really strong bond. Just that natural chemistry where it's just in the vibe, it's in the energy. You find them attractive, they find you attractive. There's just this great mutual chemistry if you're both open. You can't have that with every person. Just not how life works. Your DNA, your psychological wiring, several things at play. But with some people, you will have that dynamic. So if you're going to lots of social networking events, you're being yourself, you'll come across people that you have a good connection with. And you'll know what the kind of connection is. It might be a friendship one, might be something more. You can't force it. You're just exploring and you're finding the right connections and you're allowing them to go where they're supposed to go. So it's almost like you're just discovering what's meant to be with each person that you speak to, rather than having this specific goal and trying to force something. And usually trying to force something, looking for something really specific, it comes across as having an agenda. And it puts people off. People aren't stupid. You're not pulling the wool over their eyes. They'll feel that something's a bit off. They'll back off. They won't be open, and you'll miss out on what you're really looking for. You have to be open to, in my opinion, all kinds of connections and allowing things to go where they're supposed to go, because that takes all the pressure off you and the other person. And trust that there is going to be some people that you have a natural chemistry with. And the better you show up in the world by looking after yourself, your career, your confidence, your health and fitness, social skills, honesty, boundaries, all these different things, the greater your chances are going to be. And I disagree with that. So what I think is the idea of viewing someone as out of your league, that idea is the problem. Because if you're being really honest, like, they're not fundamentally better than you. Maybe they show up better in the world, and that's okay. You can work on yourself so that you show up better as well. It's not this fixed thing. I get what you're saying. So let's say your levels of attractiveness, what you're worthy of in a relationship. I don't like that term, but it's not a fixed thing. It can change over time. You're not locked into a certain rating, a certain level. And any person who is super confident, just being themselves, living their best life, they're worthy of a great relationship, someone that they actually like. So it has to be someone that you actually like, that you're interested in. But the anxiety comes from, it's the pressure and expectation, and it's really them trying to force an outcome. And even if a girl looks absolutely amazing, physically looks fantastic, it doesn't mean that you want to go out with that person. You might have a chat with them and just realize that they don't make you feel good. So a guy approaching a girl that he thinks looks amazing, it doesn't mean job done, tick the boxes. You're not automatically going to say yes to that person just based off the looks. You want to get to know them as well. And I disagree. I don't think women have more social value than men. I think there's equal value. But it's just that in some contexts, there's different dynamics that are going on. So obviously, if you go on a dating app and you compare the amount of likes you get and matches to the average woman, it's going to be an unfair comparison. But what women get is a lot of inbound attention, a lot of attention going their way. It doesn't mean quality attention. And often they still struggle to find the right meaningful relationships with the right people. So they have their own set of challenges. But in society as we are right now, there is no intrinsic value difference. It's just that women will receive more natural attention in dating, relationships and romance. This is because if you think about it from a guy's perspective, Looks make a bigger difference to us guys than they do the other way around. Women want to connect with someone over time. And you could even say that it's this. So I don't know if you've heard of this sort of evolutionary thing that might answer your question, called R and K selection. So I don't like talking in these terms, but it'll illustrate the point that I'm making. So you could say that as a guy in caveman times, if you was to sleep with loads of women, you would get your genes through to the next generation. And that'd be your reproduction strategy, almost like a spam approaching strategy. But for a woman, it's very, very, very different because she's got one shot to reproduce. She has to go through the whole pregnancy. She might die during childbirth. So for her, it's a much bigger investment. And this means that women like to, in general, get to know a guy over time and connect with a guy before they're interested in things becoming a serious relationship. And guys can sometimes feel neglected and feel that they're not getting attention. So they like to jump on opportunities that come their way. So just like on a dating app, you'll see that the general behavior of a man is just to swipe yes to lots of women. So women get lots of inbound attention and men get less. But it doesn't mean that women have a higher value than men. It's just the relationship dynamics are just different. And sorry, Taran, so your message flashed up and flashed off. So I didn't get to read the full message again. If you could just say another word or something else, it'll then come back and it'll come on my phone screen. So what I think is that men and women have equal social value. It's just when it comes to relationships, there's just different dynamics at play on both ends. And when you're talking about rejection, here's the interesting thing. You could even say that if you're being your best self, you're talking to a girl. Does rejection exist? Yes and no. But really, who's rejecting who? You're speaking to a girl that you find physically attractive, okay. But just because you find her physically attractive doesn't mean you'd commit to a serious relationship with that person. You don't know what their values are. You don't know if there's chemistry there or not. So it's not automatically a yes from you. So there's no rejection there. Secondly, in my case, I wouldn't ask somebody out who I don't know is already single. So I wouldn't get to the ask out stage. I wouldn't ask someone out unless I've already had a great chat. She seems amazing. She's single. There's great chemistry already there. And some things line up in our lifestyle. So if all of those boxes are ticked, I would then ask out. And the chances of a yes then are 10 times, 20 times, 30 times higher than just a random 2-minute chat with a girl that you don't really have anything in common with, followed by asking out or a message on a dating app. The two things are completely different. And sometimes the rejection that you might be talking about, it might be context-dependent rejection rather than a personal rejection. And if a guy's out there, this is the worst way to be out there. If you're really frantic, you're desperate, you're trying to chase, you're trying to force something, and there's that kind of energy behind it, it just doesn't come across well. And any guy behaving like that will just get a string of no's and nothing will happen. But the exact same guy who looks exactly the same in the exact same clothes, behaving differently, calmer, more composed, more confident, more honest, different responses. So what that tells me about your friend is that he's not approaching in the right way. That's what that tells me. Doesn't mean he doesn't have value, but if he's getting the same result over and over and over again, he's the common denominator. And it sounds like there's some tweaks he could make in his approach that would lead to much better results. And if you're saying that he keeps on getting rejected by the same women again and again and again, it sounds like he's asking people out before building a connection. So it's almost already, you can already feel it's going to be a no because it's not right. And then if I asked out every girl I spoke to before getting to know them, just randomly, there'd be loads of no's because it'd be inappropriate to ask out if there's not some chemistry there. So it sounds like he's focused on asking out before building chemistry, before building a connection. And he's blocking the connection from actually building by having this attitude. So he's obviously repeatedly making the same mistakes, and he's not quite learned yet. And I'm not saying it's an easy area of life. Yeah, 100%. That kind of behavior, definitely pushes people away. And if you think about it, what does that behavior communicate? A lack of success. Imagine if you was going back to the hunter-gatherer times, you're really frantic, you're scared, you're desperate. That's a guy that is not going to go on a successful hunt. That's a guy without a successful track history. So it communicates all the wrong things. And yeah, basically that kind of energy just isn't attractive to be around. Desperation, neediness. And here's the thing, you can be completely happy single. If you're not happy single, that suggests that there's some fundamental void in your life that you're not filling, that can be met without achieving a relationship. Rather than desperately needing, so much healthier to be appreciating something that's nice. And an analogy that I've heard, imagine that you went out for a delicious steak. You order your steak, you enjoy every little bit of it, you savor it, it's amazing. But when it's over, when you finish that last bite of steak, you're not going to cry. It's over, fair enough, it's just ended. It is what it is. You appreciate the steak, you don't need it. You're not desperate for it. You enjoy it while it's there, and when it's gone, it's gone. It's much healthier to appreciate the opposite sex than to need. If you're needing, it means there's something on the inside that you've not fixed and sorted out yet that can be sorted out. It's completely possible to be fully happy single and view relationships as the icing on the cake. And then on the flip side, is it important to receive a healthy level of validation that you're at least attractive enough to meet somebody? Yeah. And that point there does change the picture a lot. So he's a super young guy, just 20 years old. I didn't get my first relationship until I was 24. So yeah, he's really a complete newbie in that area of life, and that's absolutely fine. So he's got the best times ahead of him. Confidence, honesty, social skills, health and fitness, building up a good network of people, they're the best things he can focus on. And he has to be okay with not knowing when or how he's going to meet somebody. And over time, just working on the things that are going to actually help him, taking the pressure off. And of course, university is a great opportunity. But what I would say is I wouldn't put pressure on somebody and say, this is the best chance you've got and it's harder afterwards, because ultimately the pressure's not going to help them. Of course, capitalize on the opportunity, but it's more important for him to grow in confidence as a person, increase his chances in general, change how he shows up in the world. Ultimately, that's going to bring more long-term value in. Because what if he met someone at university, went out with them during his time, then the relationship finished? Then he's got to go back to the drawing board and meet the next person. So it's so much smarter for him to sort out his confidence and social anxiety problems, just focus on getting super confident with people, all that kind of stuff, because then he's going to have a lifetime of easier relationships rather than just desperately seeing this as the one opportunity to meet somebody, which is ultimately going to just hurt him in the long run. And it is quite funny that the ice cream van passed before because it's cold today. So I don't know, it's not the best day for them to do business, I wouldn't have thought. But yeah, your friend's only 20 years old, so he's got, his whole life ahead of him. Exactly, did pass away. So your friend's got his entire life ahead of him, so much time to learn, so much time to grow, and it's an area of life that a lot of people struggle in. It does take time. There's no easy, quick fix, but there are general principles that do work. And speaking from my experience, being a lot more confident with people, does that increase my ability to go on dates? 100%. Does it make a big difference? 100%. I've experienced being in both different positions with no social confidence, struggling to go on one date, struggling to meet anybody, and doing dating coaching for a bit. So I've experienced both of those extremes. Glad that you had a productive day. Getting stuff done, it can sometimes feel good. My day itself is basically, I did a park run in the morning, this 5K run with this guy that I'm coaching, Reese, really, really nice guy. Then I walked into town from the park run, did a walking tour. So I had 2 Australian people, 2 people from Lisbon, and then 2 people from Belgium as well. Then I got myself a Caffè Nero with this gift card that I have. Then I came back, had some food, did an Instagram live stream. Now I'm doing a YouTube live stream. Probably do a short later on and upload that to YouTube and Instagram. I respect and appreciate the honesty. So we all go through times and phases where we might feel depressed, and it's okay to feel depressed at times. You're a human being, part of the human emotions. And the great thing is you found a nice solution there where you say, do you know what? I may feel a bit heavy today, but I'm going to clean up and tidy, do some good things and make some progress. And ultimately, it's a feeling that's going to pass. It's not a permanent state. It's just a current resting state. And who knows how you'll feel this time next week. You might feel completely differently. You might be on another live stream having a blast. Now, again, amazing honesty. And obviously, you never have to share anything, but just as a coach, so do you know what's made you upset? Anything specific, or is it just general stuff? Now, it's good that you're on the live stream, and if something's made you upset recently, you're very welcome to share it. You don't have to, but if you want to, we can dissect it, break it down, and sometimes just getting it out there, getting some clarity can make a big difference. The difference between bottling things up and getting them out there can really be a game changer. But it's also normal to know that there are going to be times in life where something triggers you. Whatever the situation is, it brings up a past wound that you've not fully healed, and this emotional residue and this kind of triggered energy comes over you, and it can take a while to overcome that. And I understand that does sound like something that's great to speak about in person. And of course, it makes perfect sense that you might feel depressed if you've been really working on your relationship with your family, and the stuff that is just outside of your control, not going the way that you might currently want it or expect it to go. And sometimes we can take on too much responsibility, and we can try to control relationships and dynamics that are beyond our control. And I see, so aside from the family, you felt a bit depressed, then with difficult family members, it makes things worse. And I can understand that, because when you have difficult people around you, they don't seem to listen to you, understand you, support you in the right way, it actually makes you feel like there's less hope, which makes you feel more depressed. But ultimately, when you get around different people who believe in you, understand you, and do have your back, it can make you feel very, very, very different. And that's why it's important to know, I say it's good to talk to people, but also talking to the right people over the wrong people, and knowing what you can and can't talk about certain people with. So the ideal is to be as open as you can be with each person. And with some people, it means you just can't be open with them at all, because they just cut you down, and they're not very nice people. They don't let you just express yourself. And actually, firstly, what I can point out is the fact that you're going to meetups and surrounding yourself with good people, that already shows growth. You must have grown as a person if you now know how to manage yourself a lot better, and getting yourself around good people, socializing more. Sometimes you need that support in life. So it's good that you're doing that. And sometimes when you're going through, these different challenges, it's actually the best time to grow. You can always grow. You can always put work in today to help you out tomorrow. But yeah, that's great. So you've been going to these meetups, chatting to different people. And ultimately, would you say that when you chat to the right people, you feel better? And one of the challenges with family is that sometimes you can want family to change their behavior, but ultimately a lot of people they're set in stone. The saying that a leopard doesn't change its spots. So if you're speaking to family and you're hoping for a different response than normal, and you're met with the same response, that can be quite jarring, and it can reaffirm things that you don't want to be reaffirmed. So you can't change how your family are towards you, but you can change how you relate to them. And I say that everything I say is also a half truth, because if you're willing to go to certain levels, you actually can, to some level, change your relationship with family members. And you can incorporate boundaries, you can have difficult conversations, but beyond that, a lot of it is just observing but not engaging, and learning to process the triggers, the things that are difficult, not to take things as personally, and also to know how much time you can spend around certain people. Getting people in the right dosage. Sometimes you can't spend more than a couple of hours with someone because they're quite negative, they're quite difficult. With other people that you get on with super well with, you might spend a whole day, 2 days a week, and you feel great. So the best advice is, if someone's particularly toxic, firstly, not living with that person and minimizing your time with that person. That's the best advice, because it's so much easier to have space from a difficult person than try to change your relationship with that person if you can. If you're forced to spend time with that person, whether it's someone at work, whether it's a family member, something like this, then it's important to have boundaries, to look after yourself. To, they say have you heard the phrase grey rocking, where you make the interaction a bit transactional, but without any real emotions being exchanged. There's lots of things that you can do, but yeah, so it sounds like you was naturally feeling a bit depressed, possibly just because of a general normal human emotion, maybe because of some other life event, and then you had other challenges separate to this with different family members, and this created added stress, made you feel worse. But ultimately, I'm sure the family stuff kind of goes up and down. It's fluctuating a lot, so it'll probably change again. But yeah, ultimately, there are things you can do when you get triggered like that. So exercise is great, really, really simple. Bit of cardio. You like bike riding, so you can go for a bike ride. You can get a good session in. Talking to people who really, really listen as well. That's a great thing you can do. Time processes this stuff. Even you can try journaling, writing things down. So many things that you can do, and also just being okay with things taking time. That's also important. No need to rush. So yeah, I know the stream disconnected, and now it reconnected. So may have missed some of your questions. Oh no, not at all. No, I'm just doing a live stream. So obviously,
I'm listening.
yeah, absolutely fine. So basically, because I house share, so I don't own the house. It's a house share, and it's public. Essentially, it's space for everybody. So the live stream is just about helping people out with social anxiety, mental health, any kind of challenge. That come on, have a chat, and I sit here in the garden, and I have this big coat on because it's pretty cold out. And people were joking before that during the stream an ice cream van passed twice.
Yeah.
And we're joking. It's like, it's so cold, like no one would get ice cream on a day like this. But yeah, so if you got any more questions, Tyrone, I mean, very welcome to ask them. But yeah, it sounds like a common sort of theme is if you're in like a big family structure and you've got difficult people, you're constantly interacting with these people, and there's different challenges going on there, and just changing who you spend time with and getting around good people, minimizing time around difficult people. That's the simplest thing to do. And it's amazing how many hours of the day I spend talking, probably way too much, with the walking tours, public speaking, YouTube live streams, coffee social events, Instagram live streams, coaching sessions. Quite amazing that someone that was so quiet now talks so much. But since it's getting near the 2-hour mark, I think I will end this live stream. So if you have any questions, feel free to send me an email. If you're interested in going down the coaching route, or you want to come down to a in-person event, a virtual event, again, just email me, check my landing page out. You're welcome to join in with these things. So enjoy the rest of your weekend.